Get us started, I'd like to introduce Alexandria McLean, who's going to share with us one way that she wants to get the message across by delivering a speech that she wrote. So Alex, the floor is yours.
Okay, so my speech is on healthy relationships. Mandy Hell once said, "A healthy relationship doesn't drag you down, it inspires you to be better." This quote is important because healthy relationships are meant to uplift you, support you, and make you want to strive to be a better version of yourself. Healthy relationships are incredibly important to have in our lives because they create stability and offer emotional support. They are the foundation of our development as people. Healthy relationships create stability because they allow us to have a sense of familiarity in our day-to-day lives. Having people in your life who are consistent can make you feel grounded when everything around you feels uncertain. Stability is important in any healthy relationship because you can be certain that they are not going to suddenly react differently. You already know or can imagine how they would respond to certain news you would share or certain situations you may come across together. The presence of stability in relationship permits you to feel safer and more comfortable with that person. When you feel safe, you trust. Another reason healthy relationships are important is because of the emotional support provided in them. You are fortunate if you have someone who will be there for you if something terrible were to happen. Simply having a close friend to lean on for support can make difficult times a lot easier for you to handle. In these types of relationships, they can empathize with you and see situations from your perspective. This can make you feel understood and heard. That relationship can provide you with a safe space to just be vulnerable and, most importantly, be yourself. Overall, healthy relationships are important to have and can provide us with the support that we need and that will allow us to grow as people. These types of relationships present us with the opportunity to thrive and get in touch with who we really are. Do you have this type of relationship with the people in your life? If not, then I challenge you to reflect on your current relationships and look for relationships that have those key factors that you need to help you be your best self.
All right, so how are we going to take all that information that Miriam taught us and communicate it? All right, so today we're going to talk about different strategies that students like you have used to communicate the message or awareness on bullying. So to kind of kick us off for our first speaker is Loretta Dusso from Taylor, and she's going to share a message of how she delivers the message about bullying. And so she's going to give a speech. So Loretta, the floor is yours.
Hi, so my speech is called The Social Norm. Almost 3 years ago, I'd gone through something traumatic and I wasn't okay, but no one knew. I had been put into a petty argument with a girl from school, which became my biggest headache. It got dragged all over Snapchat, Instagram, almost every platform available, and I took it to heart. People were laughing at jokes being made at my appearance, my heritage, my clothes, memes, and petty posts, retweeted and tagged to my name. I couldn't deal with it. My happiness was so far gone, I thought to feel better, I had to hurt myself. Social media can cause immense harm and damage to people and is a really big thing for this generation in bullying. A minor thing like how many followers you have, being into the latest trends, shoes, and how and what you post could very much be used against you to hurt you. Outlets like Snapchat or Instagram where beef is started between two people and is taken to these social media spaces to be talked about and dragged for feelings to be hurt and possibly lives to be lost. And what is it that we do? We sit back and watch and almost entertain ourselves because it's so normalized and something you see every day. I'm an avid user of social media myself. I've had it back to Kick and Musical.ly days, and I'm not against using it. At this point, some may say that I could be addicted to it like most teens, but you also have to consider the problems and identifying them so you yourself are not contributing and are self-aware. We post everything on social media, and we tend to put our lives out there online. You also see what you think could be a person's best life and no idea what's happening internally. That's why social media or media bullying is a huge thing. You see what you think is a person's life, but it's not. People go out of their way to hurt someone and break them down, not knowing or caring how it's affecting the other person. And meanwhile, those flames are fueled by people watching and doing nothing because of how normalized it is. Of course, you can see internet bullying clearly in some places. People tagging someone and making fun of them or their clothes and bashing them publicly, which isn't in any way okay. But you have to keep in mind that there are little things that you won't notice. For example, a bully posts a meme about someone they're having issues with, and you're seeing it being reposted, and you find it funny and screenshot it. What is it that you just did? You added fuel to the fire. You may or may not post it, or you may not share it, but you didn't think twice to screenshot it. What you're not going to see is the person being talked about crying and upset. Egging on social media fights and bullying is going to be fun and entertaining until it causes harm to someone. We all try our best to look good on social media, whether we realize it or not. And one of the most painful things about it is that we seek validation from the media and other people. Social media is an influential and essential part of our lives. We use it for everything, and there are so many benefits. But be careful with the things that you interact with, and be aware of the things that you see. Seeing harassment, bullying, or unkind words of any kind, please report it. Just silently watching back because it's normal and you see it all the time is not right. Watch what's happening around you. Don't condone behaviors because it's on social media. It can end up being you or one of your friends who's being bullied or hurt, and their happiness is being brought down, which isn't okay.
So to kind of get us started on how different ways students can communicate their messages when it comes to mental health, your student speaker today that's going to share a speech that she wrote and that she's going to present to you today on mental health. And so that speaker is Miriam Keeby. So Miriam, the floor is yours.
Hello, everybody. Okay. Every day holds a possibility of a miracle, even when you have depression. Depression is something many people have and deal with. Some have it worse than others. Depression can come from a troubled and toxic home life, school, death of a loved one, divorce, or other life circumstances. Anyone can have depression. There's no age limit. Everything feels more challenging when you're dealing with depression. Going to work, socializing with friends, or even just getting out of bed can feel like a struggle. Depression is a mental health disorder characterized by persistently depressed moods or loss of interest in activities causing significant impairment in daily life. Depression can be described in many ways. The most common is long periods of sadness, loneliness, and negative feelings. Loss of interest or lack of pleasure in activities once enjoyed. The feeling of guilt and hopelessness or worthlessness. Thoughts of death or suicide. Believe it or not, depression is treatable. The big question I always get asked by many of my peers are, how do I cope with my depression? And how do I get out of this dark place? The first thing I do is evaluate the situation I am in and ask myself, what's making me so depressed? Could it be issues at school, friends, home life? Sometimes it takes me a while to think about it. Checking your mental status will help you in the long run. When you have evaluated yourself, you may have more than one thing that makes you depressed, and it's normal. Did you hear that? It's normal. Taking deep breaths is another good thing to do because it gets yourself collected and you take a breather. Next, I would recommend reaching out and talking to someone you feel comfortable with, like a trusted adult. Yes, I'm sure you've heard this millions of times before, but once you find that right person, you'll feel a heavy weight lifted from your shoulders. Whether it be talking to any type of counselor, one of your friends, anyone that you feel will listen and not judge you. The other thing to do is something that you love. For me, it's playing sports and eating chicken nuggets. One thing you don't want to do that I've done for so long is holding your frustrations and not talk about what's going on or how you're feeling. I was that person in the song lyric. Like a clown I put on a show, the pain is real even if no one knows. This used to be me until I learned that I am not alone and I can reach out to others. Take deep breaths, and do things that I love. These things help me realize that a bad day does not make a bad life. Thank you.
So today we're going to talk about how are we going to take that stuff that we learned that Kenzie kind of talked to us about, and how are you going to communicate that to others? So what are the key messages that we're going to take away? And so to kind of get us kind of thinking and brainstorming of ideas, we're going to look at and hear different ways that other students like you were able to share a message on safe driving. So to start us off, all right, the speaker that's going to share a message on distracted driving that she wrote and that she's going to present to us, and she did this through a speech. So Kenzie, the floor is yours.
Oh, I was muted. Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yep,
Like good?
go ahead. Yep, go ahead.
Driving. It is something you look forward to when you turn 16. It is also one of the biggest responsibilities you will ever have. No one says, I want to be an unsafe driver. So what happens in and out of the car that leads to unsafe driving? The three most important things to focus on while driving is your visuals, your sounds, and your movements. With just one slight movement or taking your eyes off the road, even for a second, could make you lose control and seriously hurt someone or yourself. Sound is also important because someone could be honking at you to warn you about something, or even a police car or an ambulance could be coming and you have to move out of the way. You have to always be focused on the road at all times with your eyes and your ears. While driving, it only takes seconds for a disaster to happen. Car distractions include loud music, texting, talking, and eating. One of the most important things to recognize is who you have in the car with you. If your friends are in the car and they want to listen to loud music, you have to be the one that tells them no and to keep it on a reasonable level. You as a driver have this responsibility, but you also have this responsibility if you are a passenger. Did you hear that? A passenger. If you are a passenger, you have responsibilities to be safe and help the driver be safe. You also need to pay attention to road signs, especially if it's dark outside. Always follow speed limits. If you don't know where you're going, always be sure to pull over to figure it out. Never figure it out while you're driving because that's a big distraction. Always keep both eyes on the road and do not fidget with the radio or any buttons on your car. Always be sure to lock your doors when you get in and also check your back seat and car surroundings before getting in your car. Never offer rides to strangers. Always make sure that you are in a good state of mind while driving. Don't drive impaired, upset, or angry. Driving a car is one of the biggest responsibilities we have, and it can be the most dangerous. Always drive safe and never distracted.
All right. Isabel, who's going to deliver a speech that she wrote when it comes to vaping. So Isabel, the floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you, Dawn. So when it comes to drugs, people don't always know what to say, especially when they're with their friends and they want to look cool and don't want them to think bad of them, just because they won't give in to peer pressure. There are some people who think that drugs are okay because they don't know the effects it has on their body. Other people think that they are okay because they have seen other people use them and nothing has happened to them. What they don't realize is that all it has to take is one time for something to happen to themselves or someone else. Drugs can have long-term effects and short-term effects on your body that aren't good. When you're with your friends, you could tell them about the harmful effects of using drugs. You could help them understand that what they are doing is bad for them. And you could also help them if they want to stop, because once you start using drugs, it is very hard to stop. Take smoking, for example. When someone starts smoking, they have a very hard time stopping. They just keep wanting more and more. And when people start When people want to help them stop, sometimes they can get really offended or upset because they feel judged and not realizing that they're actually trying to help them. Also, if you aren't careful, you could also get addicted to something without even realizing it, like smoking or vaping. The nicotine in it is addictive. If I had to tell someone about the bad effects of smoking or being around smoking, the one thing I would say is just stay away from it. Don't get involved with people who do drugs. If you know that your friends are doing drugs, then they probably shouldn't be your friends. But sometimes that is hard because you want to be friends with them and you just don't want to fall into that peer pressure. So what do you do when you have a close friend and you don't want to stop being friends with them, but they're using drugs? Tell an adult that you trust and try to get them some help, even if they say they don't want it, because friends look out for friends.